All right, everybody, how's it going? Want to do a recap of a potential trade setup that we started last week. We're back with the Euro Aussie, which is the Euro versus the Australian dollar. So, this is what we saw starting out last week because, of course, the market had just closed, the week hadn't opened yet. And so, as we were doing our weekend chart prep, and now it's today. It's November 26th, and it's about 5:15 Eastern. So the market has just opened, but it hasn't done a whole lot yet. But still a great time to get in some weekend chart prep. Some people don't trade on Sundays. I do a little bit later on if there's something kind of setting up. So I still do some weekend chart prep about this time of day. So with the Euro Aussie, I just want to show you in the 4 hour what we initially recognized as some divergence and got a few responses on, well, overall, this looks like a bullish setup. And yes, the overall trend of this pair is bullish. But as I mentioned, I'm also a reversal trader. So I look for those times when it's going to go into retracement and even possibly doing a full reversal of trend. And so what we saw was that there was some serious divergence happening from the actual highs created and the RSI on the chart. You can go back and watch that video to kind of see a little bit more of how we drew that and what we talked about. But the whole point of it is if you're a reversal trader, or if you're looking for those areas where the trend is going to change at all, you want to be aware of what the candlesticks are showing you. So this is what we saw, and the whole premise behind this, and I'll zoom out a little bit as well. I haven't moved the Fibonacci levels yet just because I wanted to make sure it looked exactly like last week's. I pointed out this area here. This is a daily chart, and I pointed out this area here because of this weekly trend line as a potential if the trend were to actually reverse. Now, that you always want to make sure you're aware of all possible options, right? So that's why I said it's a potential trade setup, what we noticed last week. Now, granted, I already knew it wasn't just going to fall back to this line, right? But the whole premise behind it is that the market is going to move in waves. We want to see how high it goes. But from where we left off last week, so that would have been um, here. Remember, we drew this line. So then the next day, from that point, drop down to here. Okay, so that's about 150 pips at any given time during that week, or over a few days there, that are great things that you want to take advantage of. And then you also want to be aware of when it may start to go back up. So this was actually more of a retracement. Like I said, I have to redraw the Fibonacci's. This is more so drawn on the 4 hour, but you can see, and the 4 hour shows it a little bit more clearly. And we'll kind of scroll forward here just so you can see how the week unfolded, because it tested that level again. But even when the market first opened, it came down here. All right. And so that was a good, 70 pips or so there. Okay. And then it went back up, but it still didn't break this daily level at the 1.56054. So that is a sign that if it's keeping coming up to this level, or even broke through but then came right back below it as it did here, then this is a very, very significant level. This purple line is a daily zone of support and resistance, and right now it is really acting as that resistance. And so even if you missed this initial one, as it came back up to this area and retested it, it then dropped again. Now came back, retested it again, and fell to this next line. So that's 110 pips. So that already could have potentially been 200 pips in the week. But even just this move alone, 110 is not bad. Now, we also start to see it rejecting down here. So as you'll see, I now put kind of another trend line under it as this was starting to form, that was showing me that it was coming into this kind of pattern here of one consolidation, right? And so that it was going to break out. Now, you never know. You can't assume that it's going to break out to the downside or the upside. So that's why I kind of have both these drawn here. And I could tell as it got into this area here, and I'll get this just so I can make sure it's showing up here. It started to reject. It never fully went back down to this level and had a strong break back up above it. And so in my trading strategy, I'm going to see that and I'm going to say, all right, well, we're going to wait for it to break out of consolidation. And so as you can see, it's consolidated here. This is how many candles? That's about 10 or 11 candles, 4 hours a piece. So, that's over a day, really a day, almost 2 days that it hadn't really moved out of this range. And this is about it's still pretty solid 50 or 6 pip range. But then it did this nice strong breakout. So clearly, we don't know exactly what this is going to turn into. We're not back in overbought zone. We're straddling the line right here. It's currently at 69%. And so we'll watch it because this may continue to go up, and it absolutely has that right. It has recently broken through another area of resistance, and so it probably will come back down and retest it as it often does. Past levels of support and resistance now get retested and become so this past level of resistance will now become support. We'll wait to see if it comes back down and touches it. It's about 50 pips away from it right now. But this is something that we want to be watching to see how it interacts with this zone and see if it sets up to keep going higher in a more bullish move, or if it's going to break back below and maybe even come to this consolidation period in a bearish move. So overall, you know, we knew that it was going to be at a point where we could get some great movement in a downward trend. Um, the next level we were looking for potentially was down here to the weekly, but hey, it's not ready to do that yet. But you have to be prepared for whatever the market. I'm not going to stay in a sell zone, in a sell trade just because I wanted to go down to the weekly. I have to listen to what the market's telling me. And as I saw it start to fall into consolidation, I knew it was time to get out and wait. But in the meantime, what was I able to do? Well, I was able to capitalize on this move right here and get a good 140 pips for the week. And that is definitely a goal that we have. And so I just want to show you here quickly on the 1 hour. Take it back off here. And you can just see that nice drop it had there. And it pretty much, here, when the market first opened on Sunday, if you're watching on the 1 hour, you may not have wanted to get in right there. But as it moved back up and then did not break above this level, it was a great time to get in a sell position. This breakdown back below this area of support was great. And a sell from this point even to, let's just say, the next area of support and resistance was 80 pips. So, it took a little while for it to fully fall, but it would have been great to be in that already, and capitalize on that movement. So that is the update for the Euro Aussie, and looking for some more setups for this week.